Hi friends, I hope you are doing well. In last video, I shared my ideas on research as a scientific inquiry. Today, I'm talking on philosophical foundation of research. Without clear understanding on philosophical foundation of research, we do not conduct the scientific research perfectly. So in today's video, I will try my best to discuss on philosophical foundation of research in detail. While talking about philosophical foundation, at the beginning, we need to talk on research paradigm. Actually, what is research paradigm? While talking about a research paradigm, we need to understand few important things. The first thing we need to understand, research paradigm is a comprehensive belief system. Comprehensive belief system. What sort of belief do we have regarding the nature and reality of knowledge? We need to understand it clearly while understanding the research paradigm. Likewise, another important thing which we need to understand while understanding research paradigm, that is worldview. That is worldview. Generally, the worldview tries to talk two things. Either the reality is outside the human mind or the reality is the product of the human mind. These two things are the very crucial, and we need to understand it clearly while understanding the research paradigm. I would like to give one example for this. If you want to find the length of the table in front of you, the reality is outside there. The reality is outside there. But if you want to find the perception of the students on virtual learning, in this case, the reality may exist inside the mind of the students. So in this way, while talking about the worldview, we need to understand the reality is inside the human mind or the reality is outside the human mind, or the reality is the product of the human mind. Additionally, while talking about research paradigm, we need to understand it is the framework that guides research and practice in a field. While elaborating the meaning of research paradigm, actually research paradigm influences three questions. The first, what should be studied? Second one, how research should be done and how results should be interpreted. So research paradigm tries to give the answer of these questions. What should be studied? How research should be done? How results should be interpreted? In this way, a research paradigm implies the philosophical positions of researcher about the nature of matter, what can be known and how this knowledge can be attained. That is the concern of the research paradigm. So in short, we can say the research paradigm is a belief about the nature of knowledge, or methodology and criteria for validating the research. There are so many components of research paradigm. Basically, there are four specific components of research paradigm, starting from ontology, the very basic element, that is ontology. Likewise, epistemology, axiology, and methodology. The combination of ontology, epistemology, axiology, and methodology, that is the research paradigm. So while talking about research paradigm, we need to clarify these four components clearly. So first one, that is the ontology, very basic foundation of research paradigm, ontology, which is related to nature of reality. I already discussed about the worldview. The real world is inside the human mind, or the real world is outside the human mind, or either there is a single reality or there is the multiple reality, or either there is the objective reality or subjective reality. These are the concerns of ontology. So the basic question of ontology is, what is the nature of reality? Before starting any sort of research, we need to give the answer of this question properly. Hence, this ontology studies concepts such as existence, being, becoming, and reality. So ontology is related to nature of reality, of knowledge. Likewise, the second important component of research paradigm, that is the epistemology. How can we gain the knowledge as per our ontology? That is the concern of epistemology. So the basic question of epistemology: what is the relationship between the researcher and that being researched? We need to define, clarify the relationship between the researcher and that being researched. That is the basic foundation of the epistemology. And it is the views about the ways in which social reality ought to be studied. Epistemology focuses on the origin and nature of knowledge, the construction of knowledge, and the relationship between the knower and the known. And third important component, that is the axiology. The axiology is related to the values of the researcher or the values of the participant may or may not affect the entire research. So we need to give the answer of what is the role of values in research while conducting any sort of research. That is the axiological question. So axiology is the third basic element of research paradigm, which we need to clarify. And the methodology, very important component of research paradigm, that is methodology. What is the discipline process of research? That is the basic question. How can we conduct the research scientifically? That is the basic question of methodology. As per the ontological, epistemological, and axiological belief, we try your best to design the methodology. And there is difference between method and methodology. Method just try to give the answer of what we do in research. As for example, I can conduct interview, I can conduct FGD, I can use the questionnaire to conduct survey, etc. That is just the concern of method. But in methodology, including what, we need to give the answer of why as well as how. When we give the answer of what, why, and how, and that becomes the methodology, which is the discipline process of research. And our methodology is guided by our ontology, our epistemology, and our axiology. So these four are the basic elements of the research paradigm. And we have so many research paradigm, and here are few paradigm I try to list it here. First one, positivism. Positivism. Likewise, post-positivism, that is another paradigm. Interpretivism, third one. Likewise, criticalism, that is another paradigm. Postmodernism, which is also another paradigm. And in today's context, we are using the multi-paradigmatic research. We are conducting multi-paradigmatic research. We can blend two or more paradigm in our research. That is the multi-paradigmatic research. Now I will try my best to discuss the positivism, post-positivism, interpretivism, criticalism, postmodernism in brief. Now, I would like to request you to think on these things. If a paradigm has these characteristics, and which paradigm is this? Try your best to understand. These are the characteristics of a specific research paradigm. The first characteristic, researcher rejects or fail to reject hypothesis. That is, try to obtain the single reality. Researcher try to obtain the single reality. That is the first characteristic. Second one, researchers objectively collect data, objectively, not the subjectively, objectively collect data by using structured instrument. And there is the distance and impartial relationship with the participant. That is the second important characteristic of this specific paradigm. Try to think what is this paradigm. And third one, researchers use checks to eliminate bias. Researcher tries to conduct the unbiased research. And fourth one, researcher tests the prior theory, and research is deductive in nature. And researchers use agreed on definition of variables. That's the formal style. These characteristics are related to positivism. We can say it positivism. Now, likewise, which paradigm is this one? Researcher rejects or fail to reject hypothesis or try to get the single reality, but there may be limits to our ability to accurately capture it. Reality can be known only imperfectly. If we can think this one, we can feel this one. Researcher rejects or fail to reject hypothesis or tries either or best to get the single reality, but there may be limits to our ability to accurately capture it. Reality can be known only imperfectly. Likewise, researchers objectively collect data on instrument and try either or best to maintain the distance and impartiality with the participants, but allows more interaction between the researchers and the participants. And the third characteristic, researchers use checks to eliminate bias, try to make the research unbiased, but bias is undesired but inevitable. Bias is undesired but inevitable. And the process is deductive. Researcher test the prior theory, try to test the prior theory, and researchers use agreed on definition of variables or formal style, adopt the formal style while writing the report. And which paradigm is this? And this set of characteristic holds by the post-positivism. That is the post-positivism. In positivist or positivism and in post-positivism, we can find a similar set of characteristics, but we can find some differences. While conducting natural science research, we can use the positivist approach. We can use the positivist approach, positivist paradigm. But in the case of social science research, we cannot use the characteristic of positivism perfectly. So we need to be flexible. In that condition, we need to use the post-positivism. And this one is the second important paradigm of the research. And third one, the researchers provide scores or illustrate different perspective of the participants. That is, tries to obtain or multiple reality from the field. Researcher provides codes to illustrate different perspective of the participants or try to capture the multiple realities, multiple truth. There is the possibility of multiple truth. And researchers visit participants at their site to collect data. It means researchers need to close to the participants, Researchers visit participants at their sites to collect data. Closeness is essential. And researchers actively talk about their biases and interpretation. There is the possibility of influencing research by the values of the participant or by the values of the researcher as well. And another fourth one, the researchers start with participants' views and build up to patterns, theories, and generalization if possible, or apply the inductive process of method. And while writing the report, researchers write in a literary, informal style. And these characteristics are related to interpretivism. These are the characteristics of interpretive paradigm, which is the third important paradigm. And here is another one. Which paradigm is this? Try to give reason as well. Researchers try to participate deep democracy and play the role of activist, there. In research process, researchers try to play the role of activist. One characteristic is this one. And second one, researchers develop critical self-awareness and critical understanding of the complexity of social issues. And researcher is well advised to take direct action to make a difference, The concern is to make a difference. And third one, researchers actively talk about their biases and interpretation, like interpretivism. The values of researcher or values of the participant may influence the research as interpretivism. And the fourth one, researchers start with participant views and build up to patterns, theories, and generalization, and develop critical action research. Try to develop critical action research. And the researchers write in a literary, informal style, like as a interpretive paradigm. And these characteristics are related to criticalism. These are the characteristics of critical paradigm. Fourth paradigm, critical paradigm. And another one, here is another set of characteristics. Which paradigm is this? How did you identify here? Researchers think for the representation. Difficult to read the human mind, difficult to capture the things inside the human mind, exactly what we mean. And we represent our thoughts and feelings through various means of communication. In the case of epistemology, we can use language, we can use art, we can use dance, we can use gesture or other artifacts, photographs, etc. to gain the knowledge. Represent our thoughts and feelings through various means of communication. And third one, researchers actively talk about their biases and interpretation, like interpretivism or criticalism. And researchers start to analyze the communication of the participants. And researchers write in a literary, informal style of writing. And these characteristics are related to postmodernism. These characteristics are related to postmodernism. Now, I will try my best to discuss positivism on the basis of ontology, epistemology, axiology, and methodology. It means what is ontology of positivism, what is epistemology of positivism, what is axiology of positivism, and what is methodology of positivism. Ontological belief of positivism is singular realities, objectivity. If you can find the single reality, you can find the objective reality, and your paradigm will be the positivism, and your ontology will be the singular reality, objectivity. And on the basis of this ontology, singular reality and objectivity, your epistemology might be distance and impartiality with the participants. Distance and impartiality with the participant. Objectively collect data through instruments. That is your epistemology, or way of getting the knowledge. Way of gaining the knowledge. And regarding the axiology, you can conduct your research without bias, unbiased, or your value do not influence your research in this specific ontology. So your axiology becomes unbiased, value-free. And regarding the methodology, you can use the deductive research approach, you can use structured survey, you can use experiment, you can use structured observation, etc. So these are the ontological, epistemological, axiological, and methodological belief of positivist paradigm or positivism. Likewise, in the case of post-positivism, ontology is singular reality, objectivity, but there may be limits to our ability to accurately capture it. So, in the case of positivist ontology, we can find the limitation there. There may be a limits to our ability to accurately capture it, the single or objective reality. Specifically in the case of social science research, we cannot use the ontology of positivist paradigm, and we try to use the ontology of post-positivism. And regarding the epistemology, yes, as indicated in the positivism, distance and impartiality, objectively collect data through instruments, that's fine, but allows more interaction between the researcher and the participants in the social science research. So in the case of epistemology, there is also a limitation in comparison to positivism. And likewise, in the case of axiology, yeah, we try our best to conduct the unbiased or value-free research, but it is impossible in the case of social science research. But there will be the possibility of bias, so we can accept the influence of value in the case of positivist paradigm, or in the case of social science research. And regarding the methodology, it is a deductive process. Structured survey we can try our best to conduct. Experimental method we can try our best, or observation method. And these are the ontological, epistemological, axiological, and methodological belief of post-positivism. And move to interpretivism. Yeah, in interpretivism, ontology is not single reality, not single reality. If there is the possibility of multiple reality, or relativist ontology, multiple reality is possible. That is the interpretivism's ontology. And to capture the multiple realities, what is the epistemology? You need to closeness with the participant. We need to visit the natural setting, and we need to stay long time in the field, prolonged field visit. So that is the epistemology of the interpretivism. And in axiology, yeah, biased, value-led. It means researchers' value or participants' value may influence the research. There is the possibility of influencing the research by the value of a researcher or participants. And the methodology, we can use the inductive technique, we can use observation, flexible observation, we can use the secondary sources of data, we can use the interview, we can use the focus group discussion, etc. And in the interview, we can conduct the informal interview or in-depth interview, etc. So these are the common methodology of the interpretivism paradigm. And we move to another paradigm, that is criticalism. In the criticalism, the ontology is activist. Researcher need to be an activist. That is the ontology. And in the case of epistemology, yes, closeness with the participant is essential, but try to make a difference. Just completing research is not the task of the researcher. Try his or her best to make a difference. That's the epistemology. And regarding the axiology, biased value-laden like interpretivism. And in the case of methodology, while using the critical paradigm, we can conduct the critical action research. We can conduct critical action research. And another important paradigm, that is the postmodernism. The ontological belief is difficult to see others' mind. Difficult to see others' mind. How can we get the information from others' mind? That is the challenging job. So difficult to see others' mind. Exactly what we mean. That's the ontological belief. And to get the knowledge in this ontology, the epistemological belief is we can use the different languages of the participant. We can use the artistic part of the participant. We can use see the gesture of the participant, symbolic interaction of the participant, and we can gain the knowledge, reality from the field, from the participant, from the participant's setting. So that's the epistemology of the postmodernism. And like criticalism, like interpretivism, the bias and value-laden axiology is there. And regarding methodology, we can analyze the various means of communication of the participant, various means of communication. We can analyze the language, we can analyze the art, we can analyze the gesture or symbolic interaction, etc. That's the methodology. So these are the ontological, epistemological, axiological, and methodological belief of the postmodernism. Now, here is the historical development of the different paradigm. We can see the historical development here. The positivist that deals the natural laws, and specifically in natural science we use the positivist paradigm. But in the case of social science research, we cannot use the characteristic of the positivist paradigm. So we try our best to use the post-positivist approach for the social law. And regarding the interpretivism, that is related to the context. Context gives the meaning. And in anthropological research, we try to use the interpretivism. And the criticalism, that is the concern of the social justice. And in sociological research, we can use it, criticalism. And in the case of postmodernism, that is the pluralism, we can use so many sources of information as a data and pluralism, and it is the art-based research, and we can compile the different paradigm to conduct the research, that is known as the integralism, holism, we can say holism, and integral philosophy. We can blend two or more paradigm to conduct the research. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you will provide the constructive feedback for the improvement. Thank you once again.